The fire in the sky. Jake was walking home from his late shift at the gas station. The night was quiet. Only the sound of crickets and his boots on the gravel filled the air. The sky above was clear. No clouds, no wind. Just stars. Then it happened. Burning light tore across the sky like a sword of fire. It was fast, bright, and low. The ground shook a little. Dogs barked in the distance. Jake stopped walking and stared. What the hell? The light grew bigger, louder. Then came the sound. A deep, heavy boom. It wasn't thunder. It was like something massive had broken the sky. A second later, a shockwave hit. Jake covered, his ears. Car alarms went off down the road. He looked toward the forest near his cabin. Smoke. Red, glowing smoke. Jake dropped his bag and ran. He didn't think. He didn't plan. He just ran. His cabin was only a few minutes away, just past the trees. But tonight the forest felt different. The shadows looked alive. The wind whispered things he didn't understand. The trees opened to a clearing. And that's when he saw it. A spaceship. Not a plane. Not a drone. It was cracked, smoking, and half buried in the dirt. Metal panels hissed with steam. Strange glowing symbols blinked along its side. One wing was broken. Fires burned near the back. It looked like it had crashed hard. Jesus, Jake whispered. Then, movement. A metal door on the side hissed open. Something inside was alive. He took a step back. A figure crawled out, dragging, herself with one arm. Her armor was dark and sharp like a mix of bone and steel. Blue blood leaked from her side. Her face was alien, yet somehow beautiful. Smooth skin, silver eyes, and glowing marks across her forehead. She looked at him, her eyes locked onto his. Jake didn't move. She raised one weak hand toward him. Her voice was broken, tired, but clear. You are the one I was searching for. Jake blinked. What? She collapsed. Her body hit the ground with a heavy thud. Her armor clicked softly. The light in her eyes dimmed. Jake ran forward. Hey, no, stay awake. He knelt beside her. She was cold. Her breathing was weak. Her skin had cuts, burns. He had no idea what to do. He wasn't a doctor. He was just a guy with a cabin in the woods. But something in him said, help her. He looked around. No sirens yet. No police. No military. Not yet. He grabbed her arms and started pulling. She was heavier than she looked. Her armor made it hard, but Jake didn't stop. He dragged her through the forest, heart pounding the whole way. Every branch that cracked behind him made him jump. Every rustle in the leaves made him turn. What if someone else had seen the crash? What if they were already coming? He reached his cabin, kicked the door open, and dragged her inside. He laid her on the old couch, then ran to get towels, water, anything. Her chest moved, slow, but steady. Jake looked at her face again. Who was she? What did she mean by, you are the one I was searching for? A knock came at the door. Jake froze. Not a normal knock. 3 soft taps. Then silence. His heart raced. No one ever came here. Not at this hour. He looked through the peephole. No one. Just the dark. Another knock. This time on the back door. He turned. But again, no one. Then he heard it, a soft hum outside, like a machine. High-pitched. Rising. He stepped outside. Slow. Above the trees, something floated. Small, black, and glowing blue underneath. It looked like a drone, but not from Earth. It scanned the area, lights flickering across the ground. Jake stepped back inside and shut the door. He looked at the alien woman again. What had he gotten himself into, and why? Why did it feel like this was just the beginning? The Huntress wakes. The morning sun touched the trees, but Jake had not slept. He sat on the floor near his couch, staring at the alien woman. Her armor still looked strange, glowing faintly, even in daylight. Her breathing was steady now, but she hadn't moved. Not even once. Beside her, a bowl of water, towels soaked in blue blood, and a pile of tools he didn't know how to use. All night, Jake had done his best. He cleaned her wounds, covered the deep burn on her side, and wrapped her arm. He didn't know if that was enough. Maybe her species needed something else. Maybe he had already messed up. His hands shook. He hadn't even told anyone, not the police, not the army, not his brother. No one, because deep down, he felt this was something he shouldn't share. Something too big, too dangerous. Then, she moved. It started with her fingers. They twitched, then curled into a fist. Her head turned slightly, silver eyes opening just a crack. Jake stood up fast, knocking over a cup. She sat up in one sudden motion. Jake stepped back. "Hey, it's okay, you're safe." Her eyes flashed bright silver. She looked around the cabin, breathing hard. Her right hand reached for her side, but her weapon was gone. Jake had taken it earlier. She spotted him. Where am I?" Her voice was deep but tired, her accent was thick. "My home," Jake said. "You crashed, I found you." She narrowed her eyes. "You live alone?" "Yes." She looked at him for a long second. Then she whispered something in another language. Jake couldn't understand it, but her next words he could. "Your name, speak it." "Jake." She stared. "Jake. Of Earth." "Yeah." She placed a hand on her chest. "I am Thara, Huntress of the Third Star Legion." He didn't know what that meant. It sounded official and dangerous. She stood up slowly, armor clicking. Her wounds were not fully healed, but she moved, like a soldier. Then she looked at him again, really looked, like she was searching for something on his face. Then came the words that made his stomach drop. "You are the target, the one I was sent to find." Jake's heart skipped. "What?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked to the window looking outside. Her body stiffened. "They're near." "Who?" "The others. The ones who followed me. The ones who want your blood." Jake took a step forward. "Hold on. I'm just a normal guy. I work at a gas station. I pay taxes. I'm no one." Thara turned to him, voice calm but cold. "You are not no one. Your blood holds something. A signal, ancient code, long lost. Your kind was hidden, forgotten, but now one was found, you." Jake sat down, confused, scared. "I don't understand." Kale didn't blink. "You don't have to. But if they find you first, they will take you. Or they will kill you." A long silence. Jake whispered, "Why you? Why were you sent to find me?" Her face changed. Not softer, but heavier, like she carried guilt. "Because I used to hunt your kind." Those words hit hard. Jake stood. "So I'm your enemy?" "I was told you were. But that changed. When I learned the truth, I broke my oath. They called me a traitor. This mission was a chance to fix my honor. By turning me in," Kyle shook her head, "by finding you first, and protecting you." "Why protect me?" She stepped closer, her silver eyes glowing brighter now. "Because the others, they don't want you alive. They want your code. They want war. I want peace." Suddenly outside, a loud click-click sound. Jake ran to the window. His front yard was empty, but something was there. The air shimmered, like heat waves. Something was cloaked. Kale stepped beside him. Her eyes locked onto it. She whispered, "They've found us." The shimmer moved fast, too fast. Kale pushed Jake to the ground. "Stay down!" A window shattered. A tall alien warrior covered in black armor appeared out of nowhere, like it had come from thin air. Its mask had no eyes, only a long red line across the front. Kale met it head-on. Metal clashed. Sparks flew. Kale moved, like a shadow, fast, precise, deadly. The fight crashed into the walls, flipping furniture. Jake crawled toward her weapon, the strange curved blade she had dropped. He grabbed it, though it felt heavy and strange in his hand. The warrior pushed Kale to the wall and raised its blade. "Kale!" Jake shouted and threw the weapon. Kale caught it midair without looking and slashed the enemy across the chest. The alien dropped. Dead. Kale breathed hard, then looked at Jake. "You just saved me." "Yeah, don't get used to it." She knelt beside the body, pressed something on the armor, and read a code in its language. "What is it?" Jake asked. "A scout," she said. "More are coming, and they know your face now." Jake stared at the broken window. Outside, the wind had stopped. Everything was too quiet. Kale stood beside him. "We must leave this planet. Now." Jake's voice was low. "I never asked for this." Kale looked at him. "No one ever does." The escape begins. The sun was high, but Jake's world had turned cold. His hands were still shaking as he shoved clothes into a backpack. Boots, tools, flashlight. Anything that made sense. The alien body in his living room had started to dissolve. Like black dust blowing away into nothing. Kale Thara said it was their way. No bodies, no proof. "We need to move now," she said, standing at the door, blade in hand. The scout sent a signal before it died. "They will come in force." "Where are we going?" Jake asked. "Somewhere they won't expect." "Do you even know where that is?" "Not yet," she said. "But I know where they will look, and that's where we won't be." They ran into the woods behind the cabin. Kale moved like a ghost, silent and fast. Jake struggled to keep up. The forest was thick, full of thorns and hidden roots. Birds flew from trees, disturbed by something above. A sound followed them, a hum. Quiet at first, then louder, like bees made of metal. "They've released hunters," Kale said without stopping. "Machines that smell thought, they track fear. We need to stay calm." "I don't think that's going to happen," Jake shouted. She stopped suddenly and pulled him down. They hid behind a fallen tree. A black shape moved above the trees, small, floating, sleek. It had no wings, no engines, just a glowing red eye and a soft clicking sound like it was sniffing the air. Kale whispered, "Don't breathe too hard. Think of still water. Calm. No waves." Jake tried. He closed his eyes. Thought of rivers. Silence. The machine hovered, then moved on. They kept running. For hours, it felt like. They didn't talk much. Just ran. Finally, they reached an old junkyard. Rusted cars. Metal piles. A place Jake hadn't visited since high school. It was dead quiet. Kale opened a hidden compartment in her armor and pulled out a small, glowing cube. She placed it on the hood of an old truck. Lights blinked. "What's that?" Jake asked. "A hidden call signal," she said. "Not Empire, not military, something older, something that may still listen." "Listen? Who?" "Someone who owes me a favor." Before Jake could ask more, the cube flashed blue, then white. Kale's face tightened. "What does that mean?" Jake asked. "It means they heard," she said. "And they're coming, but we have to survive until then." Suddenly the sky darkened. Not from clouds, from ships. Two massive black crafts descended silently like shadows falling from heaven. They had no windows, no sound, just gravity and fear. Jake's heart sank. "They're early," Kale whispered. Jake looked around. "We can't fight those." "We don't have to." She grabbed his hand, her touch strong, sharp, and pulled him deeper into the junkyard. They ducked behind a crushed van. Above them, the ships opened their bellies. Soldiers dropped. But they didn't walk. They floated down in long cloaks that didn't touch their feet. Each one carried a spear that pulsed with light. Jake whispered, "Those don't look like normal soldiers." "They're not. They're death-bringers," Kale said. "Trained to end things quietly." They moved as one unit, scanning, spreading out. Kale touched her blade to a metal panel beside her. It burned a hole. She pushed Jake inside, into a rusted car shell buried under scrap. "Stay low," she said. "No sound. No light. Not even a breath if you can help it." Jake curled up, heart racing. He could hear the boots. "No, Not boots. Soft, clicking feet, walking over the piles of metal above him. He could feel it in his bones. They were close. One passed right outside the car. Jake saw part of it through a crack. Its face was covered by a black mask, but he could feel it staring. Then, metal crashed. Gunfire. A scream. Not Jake's. Outside, something exploded. Jake stayed hidden. Something was wrong. Then the car door ripped open. Not by a soldier. By Kale. She was bleeding again. A fresh cut across her face. Her armor was cracked. We have to move. Now. What happened? Someone else is here. Not with them. Not with us. A third side. What? Kale grabbed him and pulled him out. The junkyard was full of fire now. Smoke. Shadows. And among the chaos stood a tall figure in white. Not alien. Not machine. Something older. Jake could only see it for a second before. It vanished like smoke. What was that? He asked. Kale didn't answer. Kale, he said again. She looked at him, truly afraid this time. Something worse is coming. They're not just hunting you. Jake whispered. Then what? Her voice shook. They're waking up old things, ancient weapons, and they think you're the key to opening them. The junkyard lit up behind them as the cube she had placed earlier exploded in a flash of blue light. It knocked back the soldiers. Kale and Jake ran toward the forest again, but now Jake knew. This wasn't just about survival anymore. He was part of something buried deep in the stars, something everyone feared. The hidden truth. Jake didn't know how far they had run. His lungs burned. His legs felt like metal. But they didn't stop. Not until the stars appeared above them, and the smoke of the junkyard was just a memory behind the trees. Kale led him into a cave hidden by vines. Cold stone. Wet air. No lights. No sound. Nothing. Only their breaths. And her silence. Finally, she sat down on a flat rock and spoke. They will not follow us here. How do you know? Jake asked. Because even they fear what's beneath this ground. Jake looked around. The cave wasn't big, but it felt wrong. Too still. Like something had been waiting here for a long time. He sat on the dirt. You said I have something in my blood, some code. Kale nodded. Yes, I didn't believe it at first, but now I've seen it. The Deathbringers, the machines, the white one in the junkyard. They're not just after you. They're after what you carry. A map, a lock, a signal. To what? She looked him in the eyes. To the Vault of Genesis. Jake frowned. Sounds dramatic. It is, Kale said. Long before humans walked this world, another species ruled the stars. The Builders. They created weapons too powerful to control, and then they disappeared. Some say they died. Others say they hid themselves, waiting. And you think I'm connected to them? Kale pulled something from her armor. It was a small silver disc no bigger than a coin. She pressed it, and it glowed. A map appeared in the air. Not a star map, not a planet map, a genetic code, lines, symbols, glowing dots that moved like they were alive. This came from your blood, she said. When I patched your wound back at the cabin, my armor scanned you, and this was inside you, a builder's key. Jake felt sick. I don't understand. I'm just a guy. I fix tires. I eat noodles. I don't even like flying. Kale stood. You're not just a guy anymore, and they know, everyone knows. That's why the white one appeared. What is that thing? Jake asked. Kale's voice lowered. A keeper. They were the Builders' final line of defense. No army, just one being per galaxy. No one had seen one in thousands of years. Until today. Jake whispered. Why now? Because you woke something up. Suddenly the cave shifted. A deep hum began beneath their feet. Not from machines, from the ground itself. Kale dropped the disc. The symbols glowed brighter. Then a crack opened in the stone wall, right beside Jake. He jumped back. Kale pulled her blade. The crack grew wider and a soft blue light spilled out. It wasn't warm. It wasn't cold. It felt like memory. Then something stepped out. It wasn't human. It wasn't alien. It was a hologram, but alive. A tall figure in silver robes, face hidden, voice echoing not in sound but in thought. "You are late, chosen carrier." Jake couldn't move. Cale stepped forward. "What is this place?" The being spoke again. "This chamber is the memory vault, built by the first, protected by code. Only one of blood may enter." Jake looked at Cale. "That means me." "Yes," the figure said. "You are the last child of the broken line. Your ancestors were taken from Earth long ago, hidden among stars, watched, guided, and now summoned." Jake stepped closer. For what? To finish what they began, or to end all things. The vault opened fully. A spiral staircase led downward, lit by soft floating orbs. Cale whispered, "This wasn't part of the plan." Jake smiled weakly. "Welcome to Earth." They stepped in together. The door closed behind them. Inside, the air changed. The walls were smooth, metal but warm. Alive. As they walked, images appeared, floating pictures in the air. Ancient wars, galaxies burning, starships exploding in silence. Then peace. Green worlds. Children born with glowing eyes. Then, Jake saw something that stopped him cold. A human face. His face, but older. With silver in the beard. Wearing armor. "What the hell?" Cale looked at him. "Is that you?" "I don't know. I've never seen that before." A voice spoke again. "Not from the hologram. From the walls. You are a descendant of the lost general, last of the Emberborn. Your mind is sealed, but your blood remembers." Jake backed away. No, I'm not some general. I'm not anyone." Cale grabbed his arm. "But you could be. You have to be." Then came the scream. Not from behind, from below, echoing up the stairs. A sound like metal being tortured. Cale drew her blade. "We're not alone." The orbs flickered. The vault shook. Something else had entered. Jake looked at the wall again. The picture of his face had changed. Now it showed him, standing on a field of fire. Behind him, alien bodies lay broken. His eyes glowed, like stars, and beneath the image a single word appeared: "Awaken." The rise of the general. The scream echoed for a long time. It came from deep below the vault, loud, broken, and full of something worse than pain. Hunger. Cale's grip tightened around her blade. Her breathing slowed, focused. Jake just stood there, frozen. He stared at the image still floating in the vault wall. His face older, harder, with glowing eyes and armor made of silver and black flame. "I don't want to become that," he whispered. Cale glanced at him. "You may not have a choice." "What if I can't do it? Then we both die, and the galaxy follows." Another scream tore through the silence. Cale turned. "Whatever's coming, it shouldn't be alive." They started moving again. Down, the spiraling stairs deeper into the vault. Lights flickered. The walls pulsed like a living thing. The further they went, the stranger it got. Symbols glowed in the air. Voices whispered in a language Jake didn't know, but somehow understood. Return, awaken, complete the cycle. He shivered. Finally, they reached a wide-open chamber. At the center was a black crystal tower. Floating above it, a sphere. Silver and gold, covered in lines and circles, like a puzzle locked tight. Cale gasped. "That's a command sphere. I thought they were all destroyed." "What does it do?" Jake asked. "It binds armies, builder armies. If you speak your code into it, they follow." Jake took a step back. "I didn't ask for this." Cale looked at him. "They didn't care what you asked. They built you for this." But before Jake could speak, something stepped out of the shadows. It was tall, thin. Its skin was pale gray, stretched over a too long body. No mouth, just eyes, huge, black, and endless. It moved like it floated, even when its feet touched the ground. "What is that?" Jake whispered. Kale's voice cracked. "A silence priest. Vault guardians. They should be extinct." The priest raised one long finger and pointed at Jake. Its voice entered their minds, not as words but as weight. Only the chosen may speak the command. The false must be erased. Then it attacked. Kale moved first, blade flashing. But the priest bent reality around it like time slowed for him. Her blade missed, he flicked a finger. Kale went flying, slammed into the wall, armor cracked. "Kale!" Jake shouted, running to her, blood on her lip. Breath short. "You have to touch the sphere, now." "I don't know what to say." "Say your name. Believe it's yours." Jake turned to the priest. It floated closer, silent, reaching, toward his mind like it could erase him with a thought. He stepped forward, toward the floating sphere. "My name is Jake." "Nothing." The priest raised its hand. "You are not Jake. You are General Kyanra, last Emberborn. Accept it, or burn." The name felt like a flame inside him. He looked at the sphere again. Then he spoke. Not in English, not in any language. He knew, but the sphere responded. Symbols lit up. The room shook. The priest screamed, not aloud, but into their minds. Jake shouted the name again. "Kyanra!" And the sphere opened. A blinding light shot out, rising to the top of the chamber. Machines inside the walls woke. Ancient tech, massive arms, gears older than Earth, and soldiers stepped out. Not humans, not aliens. Constructs, built of gold and silver with empty eyes and burning cores in their chests. Thousands of them standing silent, waiting. Kyle stood slowly, watching in awe. You did it." Jake wasn't the same. His voice was steady now, deep. "I remember pieces, battles, betrayal, fire." The priest lunged one last time, its body breaking into shadows. But before it reached Jake, one of the constructs moved and crushed it in midair, like swatting a fly. The vault calmed. The soldiers turned to Jake and knelt. Kale whispered, "They obey you now." "The last army of the builders. What do I do with them?" he asked, voice shaking. She looked at him. "You prepare them." "For what?" Kale turned to the staircase above. "Because the White One is not alone. The Empire will come next, and if you fall, there will be nothing left to stop them." Jake looked at the command sphere, then at the kneeling army. For the first time, he felt it, like a fire inside him finally lit. He wasn't just some guy from Earth. He was the last, Emberborn, and war was coming. The Empire strikes the Earth. Jake stood in the middle of the vault, staring at the kneeling army before him. Hundreds of silent warriors, their golden armor gleaming faintly in the dim light. They waited for him to give the order. He could feel the weight of their gaze, not on his skin, but deep inside him. A power, an expectation that hummed in his chest. "This is insane," he muttered under his breath. Kale stepped up beside him. Her eyes were wide, but there was no fear in them, only determination. "It's not insane. It's necessary." He turned to her. "I don't know how to lead an army. I'm a mechanic, Kale. I fix tires, not whatever this is." She gripped his shoulder firmly, looking him in the eyes. "You were born for this. They're waiting for you to command them." "I didn't ask for this." "No one ever does," she replied softly. "But the universe has a way of choosing. And now it's your turn." The room was still. Only the soft hum of the vault's ancient machinery filled the air. Jake took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. Okay, let's do this." But before he could give an order, a vibration shook the floor beneath them, low at first like the growl of a distant storm. Then louder. The walls around them flickered. The air grew thick with a strange energy. He could feel it in his bones. "What is that?" Jake asked. Cale's face paled. The Empire? He stepped back. The Empire? As in, they're here? Yes. The Empire is coming to claim you. They knew it was only a matter of time before the Emberborn returned. She clenched her fists. And now they want the army back. Jake's blood ran cold. What do we do? Cale looked at the army of constructs, still standing silently. We fight. Just as she spoke, the ground cracked. The vault shook violently, sending dust and debris flying. Jake barely kept his balance, but he didn't fall. The constructs, however, remained unmoving. From the top of the stairwell, an enormous shadow descended. The air grew heavy with the sound of engines roaring. Distant thunder. They're not wasting any time, Cale said under her breath. Jake could hear it now. The roar of warships breaking the sky. Fast, precise, relentless. Then the first explosion hit. The ground beneath the vault cracked open like an old wound, sending a wave of heat and dust rushing toward them. The walls of the chamber buckled under the force. The Empire's forces had arrived. Cale's eyes widened. They've already broken through our defenses. They knew where we'd be. Jake turned to the army. Get up! Get up! The constructs sprang to life, their bodies glowing with power as they rose from their kneeling positions. The hum of energy filled the room as they assembled, forming ranks. Jake felt a surge of something powerful deep within him. It wasn't just fear or confusion. It was rage. Rage at being hunted. Rage at the helplessness he had felt his entire life. No more. We fight, he shouted, his voice stronger than he expected. We protect the Earth. We protect the people. The constructs roared in response, a metallic, thunderous sound that shook the walls. But as they surged forward, the vault doors blasted open, sending a storm of dust into the room. In the doorway stood a towering figure, a general dressed in black and silver armor, a helmet covering his face. But his presence was enough to freeze Jake's blood. The general's voice echoed in the chamber. You are no general, Emberborn. You are merely the last of your kind. Your army is mine to command. Kyle stepped forward, blade drawn. Not if we stop you first. The general raised his hand, and with a flick of his fingers, the constructs froze mid-motion, their glowing eyes dimmed. You're too late, he said, voice cold and empty. You're already mine. Cale lunged, but before her blade could even reach him, the air rippled and she was sent flying back, slamming into the wall. Jake didn't have time to think. Without a word, he rushed toward the general, fists clenched, feeling the heat of battle surge in his chest. The general didn't move as Jake reached him. He simply raised one hand, and the ground beneath Jake's feet shattered, sending him tumbling back. Jake struggled to get up, the world spinning. He could hear Cale's voice in the back of his mind. Don't give up. You were born for this. The general spoke again, his tone like ice. You cannot win. Your army is mine. Your people will kneel before the Empire. Jake's hands clenched into fists. Not today. He felt something stirring inside him, something more than just anger, more than just fear. It was like the fire inside him had exploded. Memories flooded him, not of this life, but of another. A past life. Battles fought in the dark of space. Enemies defeated. Fire falling from the sky. His eyes glowed with a fierce light. He reached out, and the sphere on the floor began to hum. It rose from the ground, and with a deafening crack, the vault shook again. The soldiers rose to life, their eyes blazing with the same fire that now burned inside Jake. He commanded them, and they obeyed. The constructs moved in unison, faster than ever before, tearing through the Empire's forces with brutal precision. The general's expression shifted. For the first time, Jake saw something. Fear. The Emberborn had returned. Jake turned to Cale, who was now standing again, breathing hard but smiling. We're not finished yet. Cale nodded. No, not yet. The Empire's forces were breaking. But the battle was far from over. Above them, the warships roared, their weapons primed for retaliation. The sky had turned red with fire and smoke. The war had just begun. The last stand of the Emberborn. The sky above the earth was torn apart by the rumble of warships. Their massive engines burned like stars falling from the heavens, trailing streaks of fire and death. The air was thick with the hum of energy shields, and the ground shook with every blast from the ships in orbit above them. Jake stood at the front of the battlefield, his armor now fully reformed and glowing with the fire of his lineage. Behind him, the army of constructs stood ready, silent, deadly, awaiting their orders. The earth beneath their feet was scarred by the recent explosions, a testament to the brutality of the battle that was still raging. Kale stood beside him, her hand on her blade, her gaze fierce. "This is it, Jake. The Empire is coming for everything we have." Jake didn't respond immediately. His eyes were locked on the sky, watching the warships circle above. They were massive, terrifying. The Empire was pulling out all the stops. "We've come this far," he said finally, his voice steady. "We can't back down now." "No," Kyle agreed, her voice low but filled with the same fire that burned in him. "This is where we finish it." A loud, echoing roar shattered the moment of silence. It came from one of the massive warships above them, a ship so enormous it seemed to stretch for miles, with gleaming black and gold hulls, bristling with weapons. The ship's command bridge opened and the figure that stepped out was unmistakable. The Emperor, tall with pale skin and cold, emotionless eyes, his body encased in armor that seemed to absorb the very light around him. He wore the crown of the Empire, a twisted, dark symbol of absolute power. His presence alone sent a chill down Jake's spine. "So you are the Emberborn?" The Emperor's voice rang out, carried by the speakers across the battlefield. "The last of a dying breed. Do you truly think you can stop us?" Jake's heart pounded, but he stood firm, his eyes locking with the Emperor's. "I don't need to stop you. I'm going to end you." The Emperor's lips twitched into a smile, but it was empty. Cruel. "We shall see." With a snap of his fingers, the ground trembled again. The Empire's forces descended. Troops dropped from the warships like raindrops, their massive boots hitting the earth with thunderous force. Armored soldiers, each one a weapon of destruction. Tanks rolled forward, their guns aimed at the heart of the battlefield. The constructs moved at Jake's command, forming into lines and charging forward with terrifying precision. The battle began in a storm of fire and metal. Kale was the first to engage, her blade flashing as she tore through the Empire's front lines, cutting down soldiers with ruthless efficiency. Jake watched for a moment, his fists clenched before his own instincts kicked in. He reached out with his hand. The constructs surged forward, their bodies moving like a single, unstoppable force. They ripped through the enemy lines, crushing anything in their path. Jake felt the heat of battle in his veins, his mind sinking with the army. The fire of his ancestors burned brightly in him now. But the Emperor wasn't done. With another wave of his hand, the warships above released something worse than soldiers. The Leviathan. It was a beast, more machine than creature, towering over the battlefield. Its body was a mass of armored plates and glowing energy cores with weapons that could turn the tide of any battle. It landed with a crash, sending shockwaves across the field. The ground cracked beneath its weight, and the air filled with the deafening roar of its engines. Jake's heart skipped a beat. "That thing's going to destroy us," he muttered under his breath. Kale's voice was grim. "We have to stop it or it'll wipe out everything." But before they could act, the Emperor's voice echoed again, cold and commanding. "You are fighting a war you cannot win. Surrender now, Emberborn, or I will bring your world to ruin." Jake gritted his teeth. "No. This ends now." He turned to the constructs, his eyes blazing. "Form up. Focus on the Leviathan. All units, engage the beast." The constructs obeyed without hesitation, charging toward the Leviathan with every ounce of power they had. But the creature was too strong. With a single swipe of its massive claws, several constructs were sent flying, disintegrated in a burst of energy. Jake watched in horror as the army faltered, but his resolve didn't waver. "Not like this," he whispered to himself. "We can't lose." A sudden idea struck him like lightning. The sphere. He reached down to his waist where the command sphere pulsed softly with power. He could feel its energy calling to him, urging him to use it to tap into the power of the Emberborn. He closed his eyes, focusing on the sphere, remembering the battles of the past, his ancestors who fought to protect their people. Their strength, their courage, their will to win against impossible odds. He wasn't alone. The sphere responded. It glowed with a blinding light, expanding in his hand. Energy surged through his body, and the constructs around him froze for a brief moment before they shifted. Their movements faster, more precise, more deadly. They became something more than just machines. They became legends. Jake's voice rang out, amplified by the power of the sphere. To the Emperor's forces, "You have no place here, you will fall." The constructs responded, their bodies shining with renewed energy. The Leviathan roared as they attacked in waves, each strike landing with the force of a thunderstorm. Jake could feel the power of his command coursing through him, pushing the enemy back, weakening their defenses. But the Emperor was still watching, his cold eyes unwavering. "You cannot win. This is your end." Jake looked at the Emperor, the final showdown looming between them. "I'm not afraid of you." He reached forward, his hand extended toward the Emperor, and the ground beneath them cracked open. The fire of the Emberborn had been reignited. This was the last stand.